The champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched Marcus stride across the country club ballroom, his arm wrapped possessively around Vivienne's waist. Her dress cost more than my rent. I knew because I'd accidentally seen the receipt on his desk 3 months ago, back when I still had access to his apartment, back when I was still the woman he claimed to love. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Elena, darling, you look absolutely lovely, Vivienne purred as they approached, her voice dripping with the kind of false sweetness that made my stomach turn. So brave of you to come. Marcus and I were just saying how awkward this must be for you. I forced my lips into something resembling a smile. Wouldn't miss it. After all, it's not every day your college roommate marries your ex-boyfriend. The irony wasn't lost on me. Vivienne had been my closest friend for 4 years at Stanford. We'd shared everything: late-night study sessions, dreams about the future, secrets we'd sworn never to tell. I'd even introduced her to Marcus at a gallery opening 2 years ago, never imagining that 18 months later I'd be standing at their engagement party watching my entire life unravel. Marcus's eyes flickered with something. Guilt, perhaps. Or maybe just annoyance that I'd actually shown up. Elena, we need to talk about the wedding next month. Vivienne thought it might be easier if you didn't come to the ceremony itself. You understand, right? Given the circumstances. My throat tightened. The circumstances being that you proposed to her while we were still together? Don't be dramatic, Vivienne interjected, her perfectly manicured hand resting on Marcus's chest in a gesture of ownership. You two were clearly over. You were working all those ridiculous hours at that little startup, barely making enough to survive. Marcus needed someone who could actually be present in his life, someone who understood his world. The little startup. My chest ached at the casual dismissal of everything I'd built. Lumina Design had been my dream, my obsession, my reason for those endless hours Vivienne mocked. We were 3 people in a cramped office above a Vietnamese restaurant, designing websites and apps for small businesses who couldn't afford the big agencies. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. At least I earned my position, I said quietly, meeting Vivienne's gaze. I didn't sleep my way into it. Marcus's face flushed red. That's enough, Elena. You're embarrassing yourself. Everyone here knows you're just bitter because you couldn't keep up. Vivienne comes from a family that matters. Her father's connections alone are the only reason you got promoted to senior analyst at Crawford & Associates, I finished. Yes, Marcus, everyone knows, including Vivienne's father, who probably only tolerates you because his daughter has questionable taste in men. A small crowd had gathered, pretending not to listen while hanging on every word. I recognized several faces from our old social circle, people who'd ghosted me after the breakup, who'd chosen Marcus and Vivienne's ascending social status over years of friendship with me. Vivienne's eyes narrowed. You know what, Elena? I tried to be kind. I tried to let you down easy. But clearly, you need to hear the truth. Look at you. That dress is from 3 seasons ago, and I'm pretty sure those shoes are from Target. You're clinging to some fantasy that you're going to make it, that your little hobby business is going to amount to something. But the reality is, you're 28 years old, struggling to make rent, and working 80-hour weeks for nothing. Marcus outgrew you. We all did. The words hit like physical blows. Not because they weren't true. My dress was from 3 seasons ago, bought on clearance, and yes, my shoes were from Target. But because they were delivered with such calculated cruelty in front of everyone I'd once considered friends. You're right, I said softly, setting my untouched champagne on a nearby table. I should go. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope you'll both be very happy together. I turned to leave, desperate to escape before the tears burning behind my eyes could fall, when a deep voice stopped me in my tracks. Elena Castillo? Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I turned to find a man I didn't recognize standing behind me. Tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair touched with silver at the temples and eyes the color of steel. His suit was impeccable. Not just expensive, but perfectly tailored in a way that whispered of serious money. He looked to be in his mid-30s, and there was something commanding about his presence that made the crowded room seem to quiet around him. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" I asked, confusion temporarily overriding my humiliation. His smile was warm, genuine, reaching his eyes in a way that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. "Not yet. Daniel Reeves. I've been hoping to run into you, actually. I saw your portfolio last week. The redesign you did for Artisan Collective? Brilliant work." My brain struggled to process this shift. You've seen my work?" "Elena designs websites," Vivian interjected, her voice laden with condescension. "It's very cute. A little hobby to keep her busy." Daniel's expression didn't change, but something cooled in his eyes as he finally acknowledged Vivian and Marcus. "A hobby. I see." He turned back to me, extending his hand. "Would you join me for a drink? I have a business proposition I'd like to discuss." I hesitated, glancing between Daniel's outstretched hand and Marcus's increasingly purple face. I was actually just leaving. Perfect. So was I. This party is dreadfully boring anyway. Daniel's tone was pleasant, but there was steel underneath. "Unless you'd prefer to stay and listen to more conversation about discount shoes?" Despite everything, I felt a smile tugging at my lips. "A drink sounds good." I placed my hand in his, and he guided me toward the exit with a gentle pressure at the small of my back. Behind us, I could hear Vivian's sharp intake of breath, Marcus's confused, "Who the hell was that?" We stepped out into the cool, evening air, and I finally allowed myself to breathe. The country club's veranda overlooked a manicured garden, lit by hundreds of tiny lights strung through the trees. It was beautiful, romantic even, and it made my chest ache with memories of the future I'd once imagined with Marcus. "Thank you," I said quietly. "You didn't have to do that." Daniel leaned against the stone balustrade, studying me with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. "Actually, I meant what I said about your work. The Artisan Collective redesign was exceptional. You increased their online engagement by 300% in 2 months. I blinked. "How do you know that?" "Because I've been researching you for the past 2 weeks. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through what appeared to be a detailed file. Elena Castillo, 28, graduated Stanford with a degree in computer science and a minor in design. Founded Lumina Design 3 years ago with 2 partners. You've completed 47 projects, and your client retention rate is 96%. You work out of a 1,200 square foot office in the Mission District. You code in Python and JavaScript, and according to several online reviews, you're known for answering client emails at all hours of the night." My mouth had gone dry. That's thorough. Also slightly terrifying. "Are you a stalker, Mr. Reeves?" His laugh was rich, genuine. "Daniel, please." And no, not a stalker, just someone who recognizes exceptional talent when he sees it. He pocketed his phone, his expression growing serious. "I'm the CEO of Reeves Technology Group. We're a digital innovation firm specializing in enterprise solutions. We've been looking for a design director for 6 months, someone who can bridge the gap between user experience and technical implementation. Every candidate has been either technically brilliant but aesthetically challenged, or beautifully creative but can't code their way out of a paper bag. Then I stumbled across your portfolio and I thought, finally. I stared at him. Reeves Technology Group. I'd heard of them. Who hadn't? They were one of the fastest-growing tech companies in San Francisco, with a reputation for innovation and a client list that included Fortune 500 companies. And their CEO was standing in front of me, discussing my portfolio. "You want to hire me?" My voice came out smaller than I intended. "I want to offer you a position as design director, with a starting salary of $250,000, full benefits, and equity options. You'd have a team of 12 designers and developers under you, complete creative control over projects, and the resources to implement your vision without the constraints of a shoestring budget." The number hit me like a physical force. $250,000. I currently paid myself $45,000 a year, and some months I struggled to make that. I struggled to form words. That's incredibly generous, but I have a company, partners, clients who depend on us. Daniel nodded, as if he'd expected this response. "I understand loyalty, Elena. It's admirable. So here's my counteroffer. Reeves Technology Group acquires Lumina Design. Your partners become department heads. I've looked into their work as well, and they're both talented. Your existing clients get transitioned into our care with guarantees of service continuity. You get your salary, your partners get substantial raises and equity, and together, we build something bigger than any of you could manage separately." My head was spinning. This was insane. People didn't just offer to buy your company and hand you dream jobs at engagement parties for your ex-boyfriend. "Why are you doing this? And why now? Here?" "Because 3 hours ago, I was planning to attend a different event tonight when my assistant mentioned this party was happening at the same venue. I looked at the guest list and saw your name. I took a chance." He paused, his expression softening. "And because when I walked in and saw those people treating you like you were nothing, when you're clearly exceptional, it made me angry. Call it a character flaw, but I don't like watching talented people get diminished by those who've accomplished nothing on their own merit." "You don't even know me." "Not yet," he agreed. "But I'd like to, and I think we could do remarkable things together professionally." The veranda door opened and Marcus stepped out, his face flushed from alcohol and anger. "Elena, what the hell? Who is this guy? You can't just leave with some random stranger. It's disrespectful to Vivian." Daniel turned, and I watched something shift in his posture. Subtle, but unmistakable. He carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd never had to prove himself to anyone. "Marcus Hartford, correct? Senior analyst at Crawford & Associates, promoted 18 months ago through family connections rather than merit. Currently under review for several questionable client recommendations that coincidentally benefited companies where your fiancé's father holds board positions." Marcus's face went white. "How do you—" "It's my business to know these things. Crawford & Associates is actually a subsidiary of one of our investment partners. Small world." Daniel's smile was pleasant, but his eyes were ice. "I'm Daniel Reeves, CEO of Reeves Technology Group, and I'm in the middle of a business discussion with Ms. Castillo, so if you'll excuse us." The name hit Marcus like a slap. Even I could see the recognition dawn, followed by panic, then desperate calculation. "Mr. Reeves, I didn't realize— it's an honor to meet you. If I'd known you were interested in Elena's work, I would never have suggested that she was running a hobby business?" Daniel's tone remained pleasant. "That she wasn't good enough? That she should lower her expectations and settle?" I watched Marcus fumble for words, his earlier arrogance crumbling. The door opened again and Vivian appeared, her eyes widening as she recognized Daniel. Unlike Marcus, she recovered quickly, smoothing her dress and arranging her features into a dazzling smile. Daniel Reeves! What a surprise! I didn't know you knew Elena. She emphasized my name slightly, as if to establish prior claim. Marcus and I were just telling her how proud we are of her little venture. We've always supported her dreams, haven't we, darling? The shamelessness was breathtaking. 10 minutes ago, she'd been mocking my Target shoes. Now she was acting like my champion. Daniel's expression remained neutral. I'm sure. Well, Elena and I have business to discuss, so we'll be leaving now. Congratulations on your engagement. I'm sure it will be memorable. He offered me his arm, and I took it, letting him guide me past Marcus and Vivienne's stunned faces. As we walked through the ballroom toward the exit, I could feel dozens of eyes following us, hear the whispers starting to spread. By tomorrow, everyone would know that Elena Castillo, the girl they'd pitied and dismissed, had left the party on the arm of Daniel Reeves. We didn't speak until we were outside, standing by a sleek black Tesla Model S. Daniel opened the passenger door and I hesitated. I should probably clarify, he said, reading my uncertainty. This isn't some elaborate pickup line. Everything I said about the job offer is genuine. I'll have my legal team draw up the paperwork, and you can review it with your own lawyers. Take all the time you need to decide. But right now, you look like you could use a drink and an evening away from those people. And I happen to know an excellent wine bar 3 blocks from here that serves the best tapas in the city. I studied his face, searching for ulterior motives, hidden agendas, anything that would explain why this was happening. All I saw was honesty and what looked like genuine concern. This is crazy, I said finally. You don't rescue random strangers at parties and offer them $250,000 jobs. You're not random, you're extraordinarily talented. And I wasn't rescuing you, you were handling them just fine. I was simply expediting your exit. He smiled. Besides, I've learned to trust my instincts about people, and everything my instincts are telling me about you says you're exactly the kind of person I want on my team. Against my better judgment, I slid into the passenger seat. The interior smelled like leather and something expensive. Cologne, maybe. Subtle and sophisticated. Daniel closed the door gently and walked around to the driver's side. As we pulled away from the country club, I watched the building shrink in the side mirror, along with the life I'd been clinging to. Marcus, Vivienne, those so-called friends, they all belonged to a version of myself I was suddenly desperate to leave behind. The job offer, I said as we merged into traffic. Is it real? Really real? Because if this is some elaborate way to... It's real. Daniel kept his eyes on the road, but I could hear the sincerity in his voice. Monday morning, 9 a.m., my office. Come see the space, meet the team, review the formal offer. No pressure, no strings. If you decide it's not right for you, we shake hands and part as friends. But Elena, I think you're going to love what we're building. Why me? There must be hundreds of qualified designers in the city. There are thousands of qualified designers, he agreed, but very few who combine technical expertise with artistic vision. Even fewer who have your track record of turning struggling businesses into successful ones. And none who I've watched hold their head high while being systematically torn down by people who don't deserve to breathe the same air. We pulled up in front of a small wine bar tucked between 2 larger buildings. The front window glowed warm and inviting, and through it, I could see exposed brick walls lined with bottles, small tables with flickering candles. Daniel came around and opened my door. No business talk for the rest of the evening unless you want to discuss it. Just good wine, good food, and whatever conversation flows naturally. Deal? I stepped out onto the sidewalk, and for the first time in months, I felt something shift inside me. Not quite hope. That felt too fragile, too dangerous. But possibility. The universe had just thrown me a lifeline when I'd been drowning, and I was going to grab it with both hands. Deal, I said. The wine bar was everything Daniel had promised, intimate without being cramped, sophisticated without being pretentious. We settled into a corner booth, and a server appeared almost immediately with a wine list that Daniel waved away. "Do you trust me?" he asked. It should have been too soon for that question. We'd known each other for less than an hour, but something about the evening's surreal quality made normal rules feel suspended. Surprisingly, yes, he ordered in fluent Spanish, a Rioja that I'd never heard of, but that the server's eyes lit up at the mention of. When she left, Daniel leaned back, studying me with that same intense focus that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. "Tell me about Lumina Design, not the business facts. I already know those. Tell me why you started it." I took a breath, considering my answer. My father was a graphic designer, small-time, worked mostly for local businesses in our neighborhood. He had this philosophy that good design shouldn't just be for people who could afford big agencies, that beauty and functionality should be accessible to everyone. He died when I was 16, and I watched his clients struggle to find someone who cared about their success the way he did. "So, you became that person." I tried. My partners, Mia and James. Not that James, different James. We met in a design thinking class at Stanford. We were all tired of seeing talent get wasted on projects we didn't believe in, making rich companies richer while small businesses struggled with terrible digital presence. We wanted to be the bridge. The wine arrived, and Daniel poured for both of us with practiced ease. I took a sip and had to suppress a moan. It was extraordinary, complex and smooth, with notes of cherry and oak that lingered on the tongue. "This is incredible." "It should be. It's a 2015 Vega Sicilia Unico, one of the finest wines Spain produces." He raised his glass. "To bridges, and to the people brave enough to build them." We talked for hours, about design philosophy and startup culture, about the challenges of scaling a business while maintaining your principles, about the San Francisco tech scene and its beautiful chaos. Daniel was brilliant, not just smart, but thoughtful, asking questions that revealed genuine curiosity rather than polite interest. He told me about building Reeves Technology Group from a one-room office to a company with 300 employees. About the mistakes he'd made, the lessons learned, the near bankruptcy that had taught him more than any MBA ever could. "The thing people don't understand about success," he said, pouring the last of the wine, "is that it's not linear. It's a series of failures that you refuse to quit after. The difference between successful people and everyone else isn't talent or connections or even luck. It's an irrational refusal to accept that you can't do the thing everyone says is impossible." "Is that what you see in me? Irrational refusal?" His smile was warm. "I see someone who's been working 80-hour weeks for 3 years building something from nothing. Someone who turned down a comfortable corporate job to start a business that might fail. Someone who showed up tonight knowing she'd face humiliation because she refuses to hide." He paused. "Yes, Elena. I see someone with a beautiful, irrational refusal to accept limitations." My phone buzzed. A text from Mia, my business partner. "Where are you? Marcus and Vivienne are telling everyone you left with some guy. They're making it sound shady. WTF is happening?" I showed Daniel the message. "Welcome to my life. Small, dramatic, and somehow everyone else's business. May I?" He held out his hand for my phone. I unlocked it and passed it over, watching as his thumbs flew across the screen. He handed it back, and I read his reply sent from my number. "Having drinks with Daniel Reeves, CEO of Reeves Technology Group. He's interested in acquiring Lumina Design. We'll fill you in tomorrow. Don't worry, everything is fine. Actually, everything might be really, really good." "Is that okay?" he asked. "Too presumptuous?" My phone immediately lit up with a call from Mia. I showed Daniel the screen, and he grinned. "You should probably answer that." I did. Mia. Daniel Reeves? The Daniel Reeves? Elena, what the actual hell is happening? Did you just casually drop that you're having drinks with one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the Bay Area? Are you drunk? Did you hit your head? I'm completely sober, and it's a very long story. Can I call you tomorrow? Elena, if you hang up this phone without explaining. Daniel leaned closer, speaking loud enough for Mia to hear through the phone. Ms. Chen, I assure you, your partner is quite safe, and I apologize for stealing her away without warning. Would you and Mr. Walsh be available Monday morning to discuss a potential acquisition? My assistant will send calendar invites. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, in a very small voice, Mia said, Is this real life? Apparently, I replied. I'll call you tomorrow, I promise. I hung up to find Daniel laughing. Your partners sound protective. They've been keeping me sane for 3 years. They're the best people I know. Good. Because if I'm going to bring Lumina into Reeves Technology Group, I need to know the whole team is solid. He signaled for the check, and despite my protests, paid before I could reach for my wallet. Consider it a business expense. Outside, the evening had turned properly cool, that perfect San Francisco temperature that required a light jacket. I shivered slightly, and Daniel immediately shrugged off his suit jacket, draping it over my shoulders. It smelled like him. That same subtle, expensive cologne, and was still warm from his body. I should get home, I said, though I realized I didn't want the evening to end. Early day tomorrow, and apparently, I need to prepare for a meeting that might change my entire life. Let me drive you. You've done enough for one evening. I can catch a rideshare. Elena. He said my name with a weight that made me look up. Let me drive you home. Please. I promise I'm not some creep who's going to follow you upstairs and murder you. I'm just a guy who had an unexpectedly wonderful evening and wants to make sure you get home safely. So I let him drive me home, through the quiet San Francisco streets, past the glittering buildings and fog rolling in from the bay. We talked about smaller things, favorite movies, worst jobs, travel dreams. He'd spent a year backpacking through Southeast Asia in his 20s. I'd never left the country except for one spring break trip to Cancun. We'll fix that, he said. Reeves Technology Group has offices in London, Tokyo, and Singapore. Plenty of opportunities for business travel if you're interested. You're very confident I'm going to say yes. I'm hopeful. There's a difference. He pulled up in front of my building, a modest 3-story apartment complex in the Sunset District. Not fancy, but clean and safe, with rent I could almost afford. This is you? I nodded, suddenly self-conscious about the gap between his world and mine. Home sweet home. Thanks for the ride. And the rescue. And the job offer. It's been surreal. Elena. He turned in his seat, and in the dim glow of the streetlight his eyes were serious. I meant what I said. All of it. But I want you to know, there's no pressure. If you decide this isn't right, that's okay. I won't be offended. But I really hope you'll come Monday and at least see what we're building. I'll be there. 9 a.m. sharp. Perfect. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. Simple, but elegant. My direct number is on there. If you have questions this weekend, any concerns, call me. Day or night. I took the card, our fingers brushing for a moment. Thank you, Daniel, for everything. Thank you for an unexpectedly wonderful evening. I climbed out of the car and walked to my building's door, very aware that he was waiting to make sure I got inside safely. As I unlocked the door and turned back to wave, I saw him smile and drive away into the fog. My apartment felt smaller than usual as I stepped inside, closing the door behind me and leaning against it. My roommate, Sophie, emerged from her bedroom in pajamas, holding a half-eaten bowl of ice cream. How was the party from hell? Did Vivian's dress cost more than our car? I started laughing, and once I started, I couldn't stop. Great. Hysterical peals of laughter that brought tears to my eyes and had Sophie staring at me like I'd lost my mind. Elena, are you okay? Did something happen? Do I need to go kill Marcus? I think, I managed between laughs. I just met the man who's going to change my life. I told her everything. Watching her expressions cycle from disbelief to shock, to excitement to suspicion and back to disbelief. When I finished, she was staring at me with her mouth hanging open, her ice cream forgotten and melting. You're telling me, she said slowly, that Daniel Reeves, the Daniel Reeves, showed up at your ex's engagement party, defended your honor, offered to buy your company and give you a $250,000 job, and then took you for wine? Yes. And you didn't sleep with him? Sophie. I'm just saying, if Daniel Reeves took me for wine and looked at me the way you're describing, I would have... It wasn't like that. It was professional. Mostly professional. Mostly? I thought about the way his eyes had lingered on my face, the warmth in his smile, the gentle pressure of his hand at my back as we left the country club. The way my heart had skipped when our fingers touched as I took his business card. It was complicated, I admitted. Sophie grinned. Complicated is good, complicated is interesting, and considerably better than Marcus the mediocre and Vivian the viper. I laughed, despite myself. I can't believe this is real. It feels like something from a movie. Things like this don't happen to me. Maybe they just haven't happened yet. Sophie set down her ice cream and pulled me into a hug. You deserve this, Elena. You've worked so hard for so long. Maybe the universe is finally paying attention. That night, I lay in bed scrolling through everything I could find about Daniel Reeves and Reeves Technology Group. The company had indeed been founded 8 years ago, had grown at an astronomical rate, and was now valued at over $2 billion. Daniel himself was something of an enigma, incredibly successful but rarely photographed. No social media presence beyond a bare-bones LinkedIn profile, no scandals or controversies. There were a few interviews where he discussed his business philosophy, his commitment to innovation, his belief that technology should serve people rather than the other way around. He'd grown up middle class in Portland, worked his way through UC Berkeley, spent 5 years at various tech companies before starting his own. And now he wanted to buy my company and make me his design director. I thought about Marcus and Vivian, probably still at the country club, basking in their engagement party. By now, someone would have told them who Daniel Reeves was, what his company was worth. I imagined their faces when they realized the magnitude of what had just happened. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. I almost deleted it as spam, but something made me open it. I hope you don't mind. I got your number from the party's guest list. I just wanted to say again what a pleasure it was to meet you tonight. I'm looking forward to Monday. Daniel. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. Not at all. Thank you again for everything. I'm looking forward to Monday too. His response came almost immediately. Good. Sleep well, Elena. I did sleep well. Better than I had in months. And when I woke up Saturday morning, the first thing I did was call Mia and tell her everything. We need to prepare for Monday, I said after walking her through the whole evening. This could be everything we've worked for. Or it could be too good to be true, Mia cautioned. Elena, I love your optimism, but we need to be smart about this. We need our own lawyers to review any offer. We need to understand what we'd be giving up. I know, but Mia, what if it's real? What if this is our chance to actually make a difference on a scale we never could have managed on our own? Then we better not screw it up. We spent the weekend preparing, pulling together our financial records, client lists, project portfolios. James, my business partner James, kept shaking his head in disbelief as we worked through the details in our cramped office. I can't believe Daniel Reeves knows who we are, he kept saying. I literally have a poster of him on my wall. He gave a keynote at a design conference I attended 3 years ago, and it changed my entire approach to user experience. Maybe don't lead with that at the meeting, Mia suggested dryly. Try to play it cool. Sunday evening, I stood in front of my closet trying to decide what to wear to a meeting that could change everything. Everything I owned suddenly felt inadequate, too casual, not professional enough for an audience with one of the tech world's rising stars. My phone rang. Daniel. I hope I'm not interrupting your Sunday, he said when I answered, his voice warm and familiar, despite only knowing him for 2 days. Just having a minor fashion crisis about tomorrow. He laughed. For what it's worth, you looked perfect on Friday. But Elena, I want you to know something. Whatever you decide tomorrow, whatever happens with the acquisition, I'd like to see you again. Outside of business. If you're interested. My heart did something complicated in my chest. Daniel? I know the timing is strange. I know we just met. But I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since Friday night. The way you held yourself together at that party, the passion you have for your work, the way you talk about design like it's not just a job, but a calling. I find you fascinating, and I'd like to know you better. I sat down on my bed, trying to process this. You're offering to buy my company and asking me out in the same breath? Is that inappropriate? Tell me if it's inappropriate. I can keep things strictly professional if you prefer. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. It's not uncomfortable, it's just unexpected. Story of my life lately. Look, no pressure. Come tomorrow, see the company, meet the team. If you decide it's not right, we can have dinner anyway, and I can try to convince you that I'm not completely insane. If you decide you want to move forward with the acquisition, we keep things professional until everything is signed and finalized, and then, if you're interested, we see where things go. How does that sound? Complicated, I said, echoing my earlier words to Sophie. I'm starting to think complicated might be my favorite word. We talked for another hour, about everything and nothing. When we finally hung up, I felt like I was floating. This was insane. This was moving too fast. This was exactly what I needed. Monday morning, I dressed in my best suit. Still not expensive, but well-tailored and professional. Mia and James met me outside our office, and we took a rideshare to Reeves Technology Group's headquarters in Soma. The building was stunning, a renovated warehouse with soaring ceilings, exposed brick, and glass walls that flooded the space with natural light. Employees worked at modern workstations, and everywhere I looked, I saw the kind of creative energy I'd always dreamed of fostering. Daniel met us in the lobby personally, and the sight of him in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit made my breath catch. He greeted Mia and James warmly, making them feel immediately at ease, before his eyes found mine. Elena, you look wonderful. Thank you for having us. He led us on a tour of the facility, introducing us to team members, showing us the design department that would potentially be mine to lead. The space was incredible, state-of-the-art equipment, collaborative work areas, private spaces for focused work. Everything I'd ever wanted but never had the resources to provide. The meeting itself was in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. Daniel's legal team presented the acquisition offer, and it was even better than he'd described Friday night. Not just buying Lumina Design, but investing in it, growing it, giving us the resources to become something extraordinary. Mia, James, and I exchanged glances. We'd need time to review everything with our own lawyers, but the core offer was incredible, life-changing. As the meeting wrapped up, Daniel walked us back to the elevator. Take all the time you need to decide, but I hope you'll say yes. I meant what I said, Elena. I think we could build something remarkable together. The elevator doors opened, and Mia and James stepped inside, giving me and Daniel a moment. "Dinner tonight?" he asked quietly. "Assuming your answer is yes, we should probably wait to make anything official, but I'd still like to see you." "I'd like that too. 7 o'clock? I'll pick you up." As the elevator descended, Mia was grinning at me. "He's into you. He's offering to buy our company. He can do both. And Elena, I think you should let him." That evening, I stood in front of my closet again, but this time the stakes felt different. This wasn't a business meeting. This was a date with Daniel Reeves, the man who'd appeared in my life like something from a dream and offered to make all my professional aspirations come true. When he picked me up at 7, he was wearing dark jeans and a fitted sweater, somehow looking even better than he had in his suit. He took me to a small Italian restaurant tucked away in North Beach, the kind of place that looked like nothing from the outside, but revealed itself to be perfect once you stepped through the door. "I wanted somewhere we could actually talk," he said as we settled into a corner booth, without the pressure of being seen or photographed. "Does that happen a lot? The being photographed thing?" "More than I'd like. Success has its drawbacks." He smiled. "But tonight, I'm just Daniel. Not the CEO, not the billionaire tech guy. Just someone who's very interested in getting to know Elena Castillo better." We talked through dinner, through dessert, through after-dinner drinks. About childhood and dreams, about losses and victories, about the moments that shape us. I told him about my father, about watching him die too young, about the promise I'd made to carry on his legacy. He told me about nearly losing everything 3 years into building his company, about the investor who'd believed in him when no one else did, about the responsibility he felt to his employees. 300 people depend on me," he said quietly. 300 families whose mortgages and car payments and children's educations rest on the decisions I make. It's terrifying and exhilarating, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." "Is that what you want from Lumina? More people to be responsible for?" "I want to work with people who care as much as I do. Your client retention rate isn't just impressive from a business standpoint, Elena. It tells me that you build relationships, that you invest in success beyond just delivering a product. That's rare. That's valuable. That's the kind of ethos I want infused throughout my entire company." It was nearly midnight when he drove me home, both of us reluctant to see the evening end. "I have a confession," he said as we sat in his car outside my building. "Friday night, when I saw you at that party, something in me just clicked. I've dated plenty of people over the years, but I've never felt that instant recognition, that sense of, 'Oh, there you are.' Does that sound insane?" My heart was racing. If it's insane, then we're both crazy, because I felt it too. He reached across the console and took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. "I want to do this right. The acquisition, the job, us. I don't want you to feel pressured or confused or like any part of this is contingent on anything else. So here's what I propose. You take a week to review the offer with your partners and your lawyers. If you decide to move forward, wonderful. If not, I'll be disappointed professionally, but I'd still like to see where this goes personally. Can you live with that?" I could barely breathe. "Yes." "Good." He lifted my hand and pressed a kiss to my knuckles, a gesture so old-fashioned and sweet it made my chest ache. "I'll call you tomorrow, and the next day, and probably every day until you either agree to make this official or tell me to leave you alone." "I don't think I'm going to tell you to leave me alone." His smile was brilliant. "That's the best news I've heard all day." I floated into my apartment to find Sophie waiting up, practically vibrating with curiosity. I told her everything, and she grabbed my hands, squealing. "This is like a fairy tale. Elena, you're living in an actual fairy tale. It's moving so fast, maybe too fast. Or maybe it's perfect timing. Maybe you spent 3 years building something wonderful, and now you get to see what happens when you let someone help you build something even bigger. That week, I barely slept. Mia, James, and I reviewed the acquisition offer with 3 different lawyers, all of whom confirmed what seemed too good to be true. It was a remarkably fair, generous deal that would set up all 3 of us financially, while allowing us to continue doing the work we loved on a much larger scale. And every night, Daniel called. Sometimes we talked for hours, sometimes just 15 minutes. But always it felt like the most natural thing in the world. He told me about his day, asked about mine, made me laugh when I was stressed about the decision we were facing. "Whatever you decide," he said Thursday night, "I'm proud of you for taking this seriously, for protecting your partners, for not just jumping at the first shiny offer. That's the kind of thoughtfulness that makes you exceptional." Friday afternoon, Mia, James, and I sat in our cramped office above the Vietnamese restaurant and looked at each other. "We'd be crazy not to do this," James said. Mia nodded. "Everything checks out. The offer is solid, our lawyers are happy, and honestly, the opportunity to work with their resources, their client base." They both looked at me. I was the founder, the one who'd started Lumina Design. The final decision was mine. I thought about my father, about the promise I'd made to carry on his legacy, about 3 years of 80-hour weeks and constant financial stress and the pride of building something from nothing, about Marcus and Vivian and everyone who'd told me I was wasting my time. And I thought about Daniel, about the way he looked at me like I was something precious, about the future we might build together both professionally and personally. "Let's do it," I said. "Let's build something remarkable." We called Daniel together, putting him on speakerphone. His joy was palpable, genuine. "This is incredible news. My team will start on the paperwork. We're looking at a 60-day closing period, but I'd like you 3 to start transitioning immediately if you're comfortable with that. Elena, your design director position starts Monday if you want it." After we hung up, I sat in our office for a long moment, taking it in. This room where we'd dreamed and struggled and built something from nothing. In 60 days, it would be part of something bigger, and we'd all be moving into offices with natural light and resources we'd only fantasized about. My phone rang. Daniel, calling back on my personal line. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Terrified, excited. Like I just jumped off a cliff and I'm not sure if I'm flying or falling." "You're flying, Elena, and I'm going to be right there with you." "So what happens now? The 60-day waiting period for us?" "Technically, you don't work for me yet. The acquisition isn't final. So technically, we're both still free agents." I could hear the smile in his voice. "How do you feel about a celebratory dinner? Somewhere fancy where I can take you out properly and we can toast to your brilliant future?" "I'd like that." "Perfect. I'll pick you up at 7. And Elena, wear that green dress I saw hanging in your closet Monday morning." I laughed. "You noticed my closet?" "I notice everything about you. It's becoming a problem." "A good problem?" "The best problem I've ever had." That evening, I put on the green dress, one of my few truly expensive pieces, bought on sale 2 years ago for an event I'd never attended. It fit perfectly, hugging curves I usually hid under work clothes, making me feel beautiful and confident. When Daniel picked me up, the look in his eyes made my knees weak. "You're stunning. You're not so bad yourself." He took me to a restaurant with a view of the Golden Gate Bridge, where the maitre d' greeted him by name and led us to a private table by the window. Over champagne and the finest meal I'd ever eaten, we talked about the future, about dreams now within reach, about the strange magic of timing and chance. "I want to be clear about something," Daniel said as dessert arrived, a chocolate creation that looked like art on a plate. "What happened Friday night meeting you, all of this, It's not some convenient business arrangement where I'm using attraction as a tactic. I'm genuinely fascinated by you, Elena. The way your mind works, the passion you bring to everything, the strength you showed at that party even when you were hurting. I want to know everything about you. Even my horrible morning personality, my tendency to work through meals, my collection of Star Trek memorabilia, especially those things. He reached across the table and took my hand. I'm not promising this will be easy or uncomplicated. Dating your boss is messy even when the boss technically isn't your boss yet, but I think you're worth messy. I think you might be worth it too. We left the restaurant and walked along the marina, the fog rolling in off the bay, the bridge glowing orange in the darkness. Daniel pulled me close, his arms around me, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt completely safe. "One more week," he said, "and then you start your new life." How does that feel? Like everything is about to change. The best changes usually feel that way. He drove me home again, but this time when we reached my building, he walked me to the door. In the shadows of the entryway, he cupped my face in his hands and looked at me with an intensity that stole my breath. "I'm going to kiss you now," he said quietly, "if that's okay." I could only nod. The kiss was gentle at first, questioning, but when I responded, it deepened into something that made my whole body come alive. His hands tangled in my hair, my arms wrapped around his neck, and for a perfect moment, nothing existed except us. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. 60 days, he murmured. "We can wait 60 days to make this official." That seems like a very long time. It does. But you're worth waiting for. He kissed me again, soft and sweet. "I'll call you tomorrow." "You better." I watched him drive away before floating upstairs, where Sophie took one look at my face and burst out laughing. "You've got it bad." "I really do." The weekend passed in a blur of phone calls with Daniel, planning with Mia and James, and starting to pack up my apartment because I'd officially given notice. With my new salary, I could afford something better, maybe even a one-bedroom all to myself. Sunday evening, my phone rang with an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Elena?" It was Vivienne, her voice tight. "We need to talk. I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Please, 5 minutes. It's about Marcus." Against every instinct screaming at me to hang up, I stayed on the line. "What about Marcus?" Look, things have been complicated since your little stunt at our engagement party. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Daniel Reeves told someone at his company about Marcus's questionable recommendations, and now there's an internal investigation at Crawford and Associates. Marcus might lose his job. His reputation is ruined. I should have felt triumph. Instead, I felt only a weary sort of justice. "Vivienne, I didn't do anything. Marcus's own actions caught up with him. That's not my fault. You brought that man to our party. You flaunted him in front of everyone. And now Marcus is paying the price for what? For being who he really is? For using your father's connections to advance his career while cutting ethical corners?" I took a breath. "I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this. I really am. But I didn't create this situation. Marcus did. And maybe, instead of blaming me, you should be asking yourself why you're still defending him." The silence on the other end was long. When Vivienne spoke again, her voice was smaller. "I thought we were friends." "So did I. Until you started sleeping with my boyfriend while we were still together." Another silence, then, "I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. I convinced myself that you two were basically over, that I wasn't really doing anything wrong, but I was. And I've known it the whole time. Thank you for saying that. Are you really going to work for Daniel Reeves?" "The rumors are all over the tech community." "In a week, I start as design director at Reeves Technology Group. My company is being acquired. It's real." And you and he are none of your business. But I softened it with, I hope things work out for you, Vivienne. I mean that. But we're not friends anymore. That ended the night I found out about you and Marcus. I hung up feeling lighter than I had in months. The past was finally, truly behind me. Monday morning, 1 week after that fateful engagement party, I walked into Reeves Technology Group not as a visitor, but as an employee. Daniel met me in the lobby with coffee, my exact order, which meant he'd remembered details from our conversations, and a smile that made my heart race. "Ready to change the world?" he asked. I took the coffee, my fingers brushing his. "Absolutely." He led me to my new office. Actual walls, a door, windows overlooking the city, furniture that didn't wobble, and I almost cried. "It's perfect." "You're perfect. The office is just trying to keep up." He gestured to my desk, where a small wrapped box sat waiting. "Welcome gift. Open it later when you have a moment." He left me to settle in, and when I finally opened the box, I found an elegant fountain pen engraved with my name and the date. Inside the box was a card in Daniel's handwriting, "For designing your future. Every great creation starts with a single line. D." I held the pen and looked out my window at the city spread below me, thinking about Marcus and Vivienne and their party where everything had changed. Thinking about the Target shoes and the 3-season-old dress and the way I'd felt so small, so dismissed, so finished. And I thought about how sometimes the universe tears down everything you thought you wanted to make room for something better than you ever dared to dream. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Lunch at 12:30? I know a place." I smiled and typed back, "It's a date." And as I settled into my new office, my new life, I realized that this wasn't an ending at all. It was just the beginning. My ex humiliated me at the wedding. My new fiancé is the CEO of his company. Part 2. Final conclusion. 3 months into my new position, everything should have been perfect. My team adored me, our projects were exceeding expectations, and Daniel and I had grown closer despite maintaining professional boundaries at work. But perfection, I was learning, had a way of attracting chaos. The board meeting was routine until Marcus's name appeared on the agenda. "Crawford and Associates has approached us about a partnership," Daniel's CFO announced. "They're proposing Marcus Hartford as the liaison." My stomach dropped. Daniel's eyes found mine across the conference table, his expression carefully neutral. "Ms. Castillo, you have experience with Mr. Hartford. Your thoughts?" Every board member turned to me. They didn't know about our history. Daniel had kept that private, but they knew I'd come from the same social circles. "Marcus Hartford lacks integrity," I said clearly. "His previous ethical violations speak for themselves. I recommend declining." The CFO nodded. "Noted. We'll pursue other options." After the meeting, Daniel caught my arm in the hallway. "Are you okay?" "He's still trying to use connections to save himself. Some people never learn." Daniel pulled me into his office, closing the door. "I would never let him near you or this company. You know that, right?" "I know." I smiled, touching his face. "That's why My phone erupted with notifications. Social media, news alerts, texts. My hands shook as I opened the first one. Vivienne had posted to her blog a long, detailed piece titled, "The Woman Who Stole My Life." How Elena Castillo seduced a CEO for revenge. The post was vicious, calculated. She claimed I'd researched Daniel, engineered our meeting, used him to destroy Marcus's career. She called me manipulative, desperate, a gold digger who'd fabricated my credentials. "It's lies," Daniel said, reading over my shoulder. "All of it." "But people will believe her. Look at the shares already." Within an hour, tech blogs picked up the story. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Journalists, former clients, people I hadn't spoken to in years. The narrative was spreading. Poor, successful CEO tricked by scheming ex-girlfriend. "We'll sue for defamation," Daniel said. "We'll release a statement." That makes it look true, like we're defensive. I paced his office, mind racing. She's doing this because Marcus's career is over. This is their final revenge. Then we respond with facts. Daniel made a call, and within 20 minutes, his PR team assembled. But I had a better idea. "Give me 48 hours, I told Daniel. "Trust me." That evening, I called Mia and James. Remember the Artisan Collective project? How we documented everything? Every email, every revision, every client call, Mia confirmed. Pull all our files from the past 3 years. Every project, every client testimonial, every piece of documentation proving our work and integrity. We worked through the night, building a comprehensive digital portfolio. Not just pretty pictures, the full story of Lumina design, complete with client contracts, timestamps, financial records showing we'd been successful long before Daniel. Then I did something Vivian wouldn't expect. I called her. "Elena?" She sounded surprised, wary. "Meet me tomorrow, the cafe where we used to study. Just you and me." "Why would I?" "Because Marcus's investigation revealed he was embezzling from your father's company too. I have the documents. We can end this, or I can make sure everyone knows exactly who you're marrying." The silence stretched long. 2:00. She arrived early, looking exhausted. The confidence from the engagement party had vanished. "Marcus is gone," she said without preamble. "Fired, investigated, possibly facing charges. My father won't speak to me. The wedding's canceled." "I'm sorry. Are you? After what we did to you?" I slid the folder across the table. "These are the embezzlement records. Marcus was stealing from your father's holdings to cover gambling debts. I'm giving them to you because despite everything, we were friends once." Vivian's hands trembled as she opened the folder. "Why?" "Because I'm not you. And because I need you to take down that post and tell the truth. That you wrote it out of anger. That everything was a lie. And if I don't, then these documents become public. And your father learns you knew about Marcus's stealing for 6 months and said nothing." Her face crumbled. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't. But you suspected. And you chose him over the truth." I softened. "Vivienne, you can still fix this. For yourself, not for me." She cried then, ugly sobs in the middle of the cafe. "I ruined everything. My friendship with you, my relationship with my father, my reputation. For what? For a man who was using me? So stop letting him win. Take responsibility. Tell the truth." That night, Vivian posted a retraction, honest, raw, apologizing not just to me, but to everyone she'd hurt with her lies. She detailed Marcus's manipulation, her own insecurities, her mistakes. The narrative flipped overnight. Sympathy shifted. My phone exploded again, but this time with support. Daniel found me on his office balcony at midnight, looking at the city lights. "You gave her a way out." She needed it more than I needed revenge. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. "The board met tonight. Emergency session. They wanted to discuss the scandal's impact on the company." My heart sank. "They want me to resign. They want to make you a partner. Full equity stake. Elena, they're impressed with how you handled this. Professionally. Ethically. You turned a potential disaster into a demonstration of leadership." I turned in his arms. "Daniel? And I have something to ask you." He pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a simple, perfect diamond ring. "These past 3 months have been the best of my life, not because of business success, but because of you. Your integrity, your kindness, your brilliant mind. I know it's fast. I know people will talk. But Elena Castillo, will you marry me?" Through tears, I laughed. People already think I seduced you for your money. Let them think whatever they want. I know the truth. I'm the one who won the lottery here. Yes. Yes. Absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me as the city sparkled below us. 6 months later, I stood in a small garden ceremony, nothing like Vivian's planned country club spectacle. Just family, close friends, and the team from Reeves Technology Group. Mia and James stood as my attendants. Daniel's eyes never left mine as we exchanged vows. Marcus and Vivian weren't there, of course. Last I heard, Marcus faced trial while Vivian rebuilt her life, working at a nonprofit and slowly repairing her relationship with her father. As for me, I'd learned that the best revenge wasn't revenge at all. It was building something so beautiful that the past couldn't touch it. It was choosing grace over bitterness, truth over spite, love over fear. Daniel kissed me as everyone cheered, and I realized the cruel jokes at that engagement party had led me exactly where I needed to be. Sometimes the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you deserve. And I deserved this. All of it. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.